morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this special report tonight, brought to you by the Vigilant Fox and Zeee Media. I'm your host, Maria Zeee. Before we get started, please remember to follow this channel if you're not already. Remember to like the video and give us your thoughts in the comments below. You may have missed this news recently. The health insurance system in America is so broken that the Trump administration is quietly rewriting the Affordable Care Act, and buried deep inside a monstrous 1,000 plus page document is a ploy to let health insurance companies start lending money to patients to pay for their medical care. That's right. If you get hit with a devastating diagnosis or an unexpected emergency, your insurance company won't just pay the bill, they'll offer you a loan instead. So you can go deeper into debt to the very same industry that's already failing you. Let me say that again. You pay health insurance so that you'll be insured in a time of a health crisis. Already, health insurers are denying nearly 20% of claims, and out-of-pocket expenses keep rising. So instead of them paying your bill, which is what you pay the insurance for, they'll now be incentivized to deny even more bills or raise out-of-pocket expenses in order to cash in on the interest they'll be collecting. A third of American households are already drowning in medical debt, and now insurers get to pile on even more with interest. While these companies rake in billions in profits, everyday people will be trapped paying back loans for the care they thought was covered. This isn't fixing healthcare. This is turning your health insurer into your loan shark and making an already predatory, dysfunctional system even more financially crushing for ordinary Americans. Classic, you get sick, you go broke American healthcare, now with extra debt servitude. Well, on the plus side, there is a company that is providing a solution to this problem. Crowd Health, a member-focused healthcare company, is saving Americans tens of thousands of dollars, and in May of this year, 100% of medical bills were funded. No loans needed, no exorbitant premiums, no crazy out-of-pocket expenses. A model that is actually working, is not throwing Americans into bankruptcy because of unexpected health events, and is saving people money and getting them the healthcare they need. Andy Schoonover from Crowd Health joins us now to discuss. Andy Schoonover, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. Always fun to be on with you.
It's great to have you again. It's been a little while since we last chatted, and we have quite a few things we need to discuss here. I really wanted to bring up this tweet, this recent exchange with Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman was saying that ultra wealthy people have access to the top doctors, effective lawyers, and best in-class tutors for their kids. What if we could make that available for every American? Well, Crowd Health has responded to that and says that Crowd Health members up and down the economic spectrum have gone to Mayo, MD Anderson, Stanford, Cleveland Clinic, etc., and have had access to the top doctors in the US and abroad without the need for government plus company collaboration. Government intervention and insurance bureaucracy are pushing more and more of the top doctors out of the system to cash pay. Our guess is this will be the norm within a decade. Now, I recently interviewed a doctor as well that was talking to me about how this is becoming the norm. This is actually the preference of a lot of doctors these days, Andy. So talk to us a little bit about this exchange, because, here's a very wealthy person saying, people should have access to this, and here's Crowd Health saying, actually, they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one beautiful thing about our system. It's funny nowadays. This term equitable is a bit of a hot term, right? Especially on X and other places. But I think we have the most equitable payment system for healthcare out there, because people, whether you're making $30,000 a year or $3 million a year, you have access to the same doctors, and these are some of the best doctors in the world. Like I said, there's Stanford and Cleveland Clinic and MD Anderson, and we've had people go to all of these places. And ultimately, though, when you get government intervention, some of these doctors are leaving the system because of the bureaucracy that comes along with that. I think a few months ago, maybe it was 6 months ago or something, Mayo Clinic announced that they were going to exit a bunch of Medicare Advantage plans, which is, government-led health plans, because they didn't want to deal with the government reimbursement rates. And so, this is the problem when we have government collaborating, as Reid said, with corporations, is that free markets tend to exit stage left, and the government bureaucracy enters as the main character, and therefore just the kind of the free market, invisible hand disappears. And so that's the problem that we have. And so I think ultimately what we're going to see in the next decade is the best doctors in the world are going to just say, hey, I'm really good. I know it. And so therefore, I'm not going to deal with all this insurance government bureaucracy. I'm going to have people come to me who can pay me in cash. And if
Yep.
you really want to see, a kind of non-equitable healthcare outcomes, let's let that happen. And if that does happen, crowd health is the place to be because all of our members pay doctors directly without the need for government or insurance bureaucracy.
Well, I'm seeing more and more of the, doctors in the freedom space that are favorable towards that model. And so it shows me that the trajectory is the best doctors are actually heading in that direction. That's the way that it's going. And the reason why crowd health is the solution to that, and I do want to sort of delve into this a little bit more with you, because perhaps people have the perception that it's kind of like you have a health event and you put up a GoFundMe and it's maybe they think it's a gamble, but that's certainly not the case with crowd health. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, we get this all the time. I think that, people have this understanding that with the health insurance plan, they guarantee you get paid. Unfortunately, that guarantee has resulted in about 1 in 5 bills not getting paid. So, Kaiser Family Foundation, now just called KFF, came out with their, I believe it was 2024, which is the latest data, and it said 19% of bills are denied. And so the bills that we submit to our community, which is approaching 50,000, we're just shy of 50,000 bills that have been sent to the community. All but 32 of those have gotten fully funded. And so that's a 99.9% success rate. And so this is not like your GoFundMe. This is not putting your health event on your social media platforms in hopes that people are going to come and help you out. This is a community of 30,000 people. They've all raised their hand and said, I'm willing to help. We ask every single one of them every single month. And if they say no, which they can do, when they submit a bill to the community knows that they said no to other people in the community.
Right.
And so there's this accountability within this community, like any community. If you're a taker from the community and not a giver to the community, guess what? You're not going to be a part of that community for very long. And so that's how we are created, and it's worked really, really well over 50,000. So this is nothing, we call it crowdfunding, just like GoFundMe is. It's voluntary, yes, but we have some structures in place that make it, much, much more effective than GoFundMe in getting these bills paid.
Yeah, so just so people can see some of the stats here, here's Crowd Health posting about the May monthly transparency file. They give access to everyone to see this information. It includes every bill status and even complaints. Over 3,130 bills were submitted this month by Crowd Health members, and 100% of those bills were funded. And the health events range from injury, pregnancy, illness, wellness, and other. There's a wellness category there, Andy. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's really two components here. I think one of the really screwy things about health insurance, if you have car insurance, for example, if you're a good driver, you get better rates than if you're a bad driver. Bad drivers tend to pay higher rates than good drivers. You can't do that with health insurance. You can't. The health insurance plans, it's actually illegal for health insurance plans to base your rate on your health condition. And so it gives nobody an incentive to go and get healthy. What we do is we actually give people an incentive to go and get healthy. So you can go get a fasting insulin test. You can get your visceral fat, which is the fat that hangs out around your organs, not necessarily around your stomach. Or you can get a high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which basically measures the amount of inflammation that you have in your body. We believe that these are the three core metrics that are the best proxies for metabolic health. And if you can show us that you are metabolically healthy, you actually get a lower rate than everybody else. And so we think that's just a great incentive system. We've had people who are in the community who took it and weren't metabolically healthy that now are metabolically healthy because they wanted to get the discount. And so all these incentives work really, really well. And so those are the things that go into that wellness category. in addition to, this month or this quarter, we had a gut health check. And so your gut health is also eligible for funding. Next quarter, we have a coronary artery calcium scores, which tells you, does a CT, I think it's a CT scan of your heart, and it shows you if you have any plaque buildup in your heart. And so these are all things to be like, hey, we want our members to be healthy. And none of these are reimbursed by health insurance, but they're all eligible for funding with Crowd Health. And so that's a huge difference between us and a health insurance company.
That is so incredible. I was just about to say none of that's covered by health insurance. None of that is
Mm-mm.
is there is no incentive. There is, you pay these exorbitant amounts of money and we'll just maybe cover it when you get sick. Maybe. That's basically the model. I mean, it's the worst sales pitch ever. So that's Crowd Health is just such a different model. It's truly revolutionary. Talk to us about this back and forth that Crowd Health got into with Mark Cuban.
Yeah, Mark is fairly new to the healthcare game, and he thinks he knows a lot about healthcare. I've been in healthcare for 20 years, and so he basically what we said is there's a lot of hoopla out there around these transparency files, and so basically what it's saying is that hospitals need to make their files public, and the prices of all their services public. And our response is like, hey, that's generally a really good thing. Like, people should know what the cost of things that they are purchasing. Unfortunately, in our current health insurance system, they're not actually the one purchasing it, and therefore have very little incentive to actually go and shop. If you go and shop for a car, you're probably going to look at three or four places, and you're going to figure out what the best price is, and you're going to negotiate and all these things. With healthcare, you're not ultimately the payer. The health insurance plan is. And so if you have a $20,000 knee replacement, you don't care if it's $20,000 or $50,000, because it's over your deductible, and therefore you don't really care. It doesn't impact your wallet. It just impacts United Healthcare's wallet. So you don't care what the prices are. And so that's my statement was, transparency is good within the existing system. It is worthless, pretty worthless. And Mark Cuban decided that he didn't agree with that, and so decided to repost that and say, that we were dumb. But we've got 30,000 members out there. We know how this works, and I guarantee you, there's not a person on the planet that if they have a procedure above their deductible, they're going to go and shop for a lower price. It just
Yeah.
doesn't happen. It just doesn't make. And if it did happen, it would defy all economic logic that we've ever, discovered over the last 1,000 years of economics. And so it's worthless pretty much in our current system.
It's for people that maybe didn't see our last interview, I recommend you go back and watch, because we did a really detailed interview of exactly how this all works. But I would really love to cover it again with you, Andy, just in case people maybe don't have the time to go back and watch that. Though I do recommend it, because you're talking about things that are actually impacting your life. You're talking about health insurance companies refusing to actually give you the treatment that you need to get, or telling you that you have to pay exorbitant amounts above your deductible, or whatever the case may be. So give us a couple of stats around health insurance. You just said 19% of bills are denied by health insurance companies. So give us a couple of figures around that, and then explain to us how Crowd Health is different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately people, what we're trying to do with Cara Health is kind of get rid of all these perverse incentives within health insurance, because people think that healthcare is so complex. In reality, it's not that complex. It is the sellers of healthcare, or these big hospital systems, they want the price to go up, and the buyers of healthcare, which are these insurance companies, they want the price to go up. And so if you have the buyer and the seller both wanting the price to go up, then the price is going to go up. Again, it's just basic economics. And so, people understand the hospital side, but they don't understand the health insurance side, because what happened in 2009 with Obamacare is that Obamacare maximized the amount of profit that a health insurance plan can get. So if they have $1,000 of deductible, you can only get $150 worth of profit. And so how do you raise your profit 10% from 150 to 165? Well, your premiums have to go from $1,000 to $1,100. So they actually want the prices of healthcare to go up, there's no incentive for them to see the prices of healthcare go down because that impacts their profit. And so that's the biggest perverse incentive that we have with healthcare. And we're trying to figure out, and I think we have figured out a way to eliminate that perverse incentive. So again, let's bring this free market system into healthcare because it's currently non-existent. And so we do not benefit from our, prices going up like health insurance plans, nor do we benefit from denying people bills. We get a subscription fee every month. And so you pay us $60 every month as a subscription fee. So our incentive is to make you happy, keep you around, refer your friends and tell them how great it is. And if we provide you a great service, we make more money. And that's the way that business should be run. If I provide you a great service, I should be able to make, more money. And that's the basic economics again. So, it's just the perverse incentives of healthcare that health insurance that we're trying to eliminate. So, and so far, if you kind of go and look at what people are saying online, type in crowd health reviews, and we have a 4.9 rating. I think United Healthcare has like a 1.4 rating or something like that in terms of stars. And so I think people really appreciate the fact that, we're focused on, providing them a really good service. I'll give you one quick example, and it was, over the last, 6 months or so, we had a guy with stage 4 cancer, and his doctor wanted to do a bunch of tests. And his doctor said, well, we're not going to be able to do these tests because you're stage 4. By the time we get them approved by health insurance, it's going to be just too late. We're not going to be able to react upon them. And the guy's like, no, 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 I don't have health insurance. I'm direct pay. I'm going to pay for these things directly. And they're like, oh, well, in that case, let's go get these scans. They had him stage 4. They were about to give him palliative care, which basically is end of life care. He got these scans. They made some adjustments. Now here we are. The guy is cancer free. Does
Wow.
not have cancer. And so that's where, if you can direct pay without the middleman, having to approve all these tests, you can get the tests you need to make the decisions that your doctor needs to make in an appropriate amount of time. And to think that the doctor was like, I'm sorry, you're going to be gone. You're going to be dead before the insurance company is going to be able to make a decision on this. And so, like, that's the difference in paying directly for your service as opposed to having a health insurance plan in the middle of it. And, that's just a tragedy. It's a tragedy of our system. And I think
It's
people are losing their lives over it, candidly. And that's just, yeah, it's a tragedy.
that is so perverse. That is so incredibly perverse because the name of the industry is health insurance. And we just keep hearing these stories of how it's anything but that. And not only that, Andy, the affordability. People can't afford the premiums that these health insurance companies are covering. This is something actually, again, that Crowd Health was posting about recently. I want to bring this up for everyone. Give me a second. If a family of 4 had ditched health insurance and joined Crowd Health when we started in October of 2021 and invested the savings in the S&P 500, you'd be approximately $70,000 richer, not investment advice. So talk to us about the fee structure. And again, I want to re-emphasize, you're talking about 19% of bills through health insurance companies getting denied, whereas with Crowd Health's most recent transparency report, 100% of medical bills are getting funded, and it's more cost effective than what these health insurance companies are doing with their prices.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the post was trying to make a point, which is, you know, not only does health insurance deny a bunch of bills, putting people into financial distress, somewhere around 200,000 to 250,000 families that have health insurance go bankrupt every year due to a medical expense. And so, the whole point of insurance is to, in case something big happens, you don't go into financial distress. And it's clearly that this is not working with health insurance. And so,
Well,
we
sorry,
wanted
Andy, can I
something.
just pause you there really quickly? The
Yeah.
problem is so bad that the federal government is now going to allow people to take out loans to pay for health events. Like, that's how bad the problem with health
Yeah.
insurance is, that the federal government's now saying, well, okay, so that you don't die, we're going to let you take out a loan because health insurance actually isn't going to meet your needs. You're going to need to take out a loan if something happens to you. That's how serious the problem is. But please go on.
Yeah, so it's basically I'm paying my monthly premium, I'm paying a deductible so that you might pay my bill. And if you don't pay my bill, then I have to go into debt
Yeah.
to, get my bill paid. I mean, that's how, destructive this has become. So yeah, somewhere around 200 to 250,000 people are in this position where they can't, pay their medical bill and they have to go bankrupt. And so it's a yeah, man, it gets me, fired up just thinking about it. And candidly, I started the company with that stat. I mean, it's like something has got to change. My quick story was like I got an $8,000 bill from the hospital for something that my daughter needed that the ear, nose, and throat doctor said she absolutely needs or she's going to lose her hearing. And the health insurance plan said that they weren't going to pay for it. And then I had to stroke an $8,000 check to get this procedure paid for. The vast majority of Americans don't have $8,000 that they can stroke for, putting ear tubes in their daughter's ears, and that's putting people into bankruptcy. And so that's the challenge that we have now. So yeah, I mean, $70,000. Could you imagine having an additional $70,000 in your bank account if you had just made this switch? Our families are saving about $10,000 a year, and then just invest that. I mean, in anything, in Bitcoin or S&P or even treasuries, for God's sake, and you're going to have a lot more than you would if you went with health insurance. And so you're receiving a ton of savings here. Just to give you one kind of anecdote. My family of four, I just checked the Affordable Care Act at the beginning of the year just to see what it was going to be, and it was $1,400 and a $16,000 or $18,000 deductible. So I would be paying $30,000 plus before the health insurance plan would pay anything. With Crowd Health this month, I am paying, let's see, $465. So I'm saving $1,000 a month. And instead of that 16 or $18,000 deductible, if my, God forbid, one of my kids goes to the ER, I pay the first 500, and the rest is eligible for funding from the community. And as we've seen, the community has done really well funding these bills. And so, if I'm sitting in the hospital room with my daughter, what do I want to be thinking about? I want to be thinking about getting her back to being healthy, taking care of her, loving her really well. What I don't want to be thinking about is a 16 or $18,000 deductible and trying to figure out how the heck am I going to pay a 16 or $18,000 deductible.
Right.
What we do is we just say, hey, you pay the first $500. Everybody can come up with $500. Like, you can figure out how, you can ask a friend. If you don't have $500, you can figure out $500. You need to have a little skin in the game, but that's way easier than 16 or $18,000. And so that's why we built the system the way we have, just to give some people some peace of mind that they're not going to have to come up with tens of thousands of dollars if something happens to their kid or to them or whatever it may be.
Okay, so again, for the people that missed it last time, you have a health event, you upload that bill into the Crowd Health app,
Mhm.
and then what happens?
Yeah, then we have a team on our end who will negotiate that bill for you. So we have a team, including attorneys, who will call the hospital and say, listen, this bill has errors on it. You upcharge them for things. You have the prices are egregious. And so we would like to negotiate these with you. And so we do that all on your behalf. And then when we get to a negotiated price that we think is fair, we come back to you and say, hey, we got a price. Are you okay with us sending this to the community to get funded? You give us a thumbs up. We send it to the community to get funded. That community then sends you the money directly so that you have, let's just say it was a $20,000 bill. We negotiated it to 10,000. You now have $10,000 in your bank account. You have a new bill from the hospital that says $10,000. You pay the hospital directly, and everything is done. And so it's just it takes a little bit more on our end, on the back end, as opposed to just laying down your credit card or your insurance card and being like, I'm done. So it takes one more step, but it keeps you from having to get like these explanation of benefits in the mail where you have no idea what they mean. A lot of times the math doesn't math, right? And it's just a better way of doing it, and it's something the way you would do it with anything else that you buy in your life. Like, you would negotiate, you'd find the best price. But for us, we do that negotiating for you so that we can get you the best price. So it works really, really well.
And again, Month of May transparency report, 100% of bills that went through this process were funded, as opposed to, yeah, you put down your health insurance card and you hope that this is actually going to be something that was covered because you didn't understand the lengthy mail that was sent to you, or your health insurance company found a loophole to not pay
Yeah,
something, which just, I keep hearing stories about this. Is just insane to me how much money people
it's
are essentially
it's
burning through, Andy.
It's insane, and I do want to make sure that we are, fully transparent, because if you go down farther on that file, it does show you some things that, like, we filtered out before we sent to the crowd. And this is a service to the community, where people were trying to put, bills into the community, like cosmetic surgery or things like that are like, clearly the community should not be paying for these things.
Right.
And so if we say no to those things, that person has the option of appealing it to the community, a community group, that they say, hey, Crowd Health said this is not eligible. And so I would like the community, to tell me if it's eligible or not. So ultimately, Crowd Health is not making the decision. It's the community that makes the decision, which we think is a way better way of doing this.
Yeah.
And again, back to what we talked about before, we have no, like, incentive to deny your bill. Like, that's just, it actually is bad for us, because you're going to go on X and you're going to be like, Crowd Health, denied my bill. Like, that's not what we want.
Right.
That'd be the worst thing. And so, we make sure that we do this in a really fair and super, super transparent way. And like I may have said already, like, I don't think there's a more transparent healthcare payment system out there. And in fact, I know there's not a more transparent one. And so, if you're really interested in all the data, we give it all to you in those transparency files. Go take a look at it.
Yeah, that's incredible. That is so great. I mean, no, I don't think there's any other healthcare company of any sort that's giving that data to people. We spoke about transparency earlier, and it's certainly not the case. So, okay, what is
And by
the
the way, really quick, like, even
yes?
on those transparency files, we give the complaints that our members have. Like, we will tell you not just the good stuff, but the bad stuff, in which we mess something up, or we double charge somebody or whatever. And I think that, like, it's not so much important that, like, we screwed up, because every company screwed up. We're all
Of
fallible
course.
in some way. It's like, how do you respond to it? And I
Hmm.
think what we really want people to see in that is like, yep, we goofed on this one, we responded to it in the right way, to make sure that our customer ultimately got, the fair deal. And so, there's a software glitch or something in which we double charge somebody, and then we like, okay, well, what how do we deal with that? We refund you back and we apologize. Like, which is what you want in a company. It's not like that they don't screw up. It's like, how do they address that screw up when it happens? And so I think we do a really nice job of saying mea culpa and making it right.
Well, that's fantastic. And of course, you're going to have bumps in the road in every single aspect of your life. It is absolutely about how a company responds to those things, and rectifies them, and that's really vital. Okay, so from the initial sign up process, talk us through that. So, say people want to go ahead with this, and I'm going to actually bring up the link for everyone now as well. You can go to joincrowdhealth.com slash promos slash pulse. We're going to put that link in the description as well. Break free from the healthcare industrial complex. Okay, so someone goes and they say, right, I'm very interested, I'm going to sign up. What happens then?
Yeah, but you can sign up whenever you want, so there's no open enrollments or anything like that. So you don't have to deal with that every year. So you sign up whenever you want. It takes 5 or 10 minutes to sign up, so it's super easy. We don't do any, like, health screenings or anything. We just ask you a few questions, and so it's a super easy sign up process. You'll get access to our app, and then we're going to send you a couple emails to kind of give you the details of how it all works. And then you're off to the races. If you go to your pediatrician, all you do is you go and say, hey, I'm a cash pay customer. They will typically give you like 40 or 50% off of what health insurance plans pay, just for being a cash pay customer. And then we only ask, if you go for a big planned procedure, that you call us, because what we want to do is we want to bring market forces to healthcare, and we want to find you a really good doctor in your area to do that. We don't have networks, so you can go to whoever you want, but at least give us an opportunity to show you that, X doctor is just as good and has as good of outcomes as Y doctor and is, 20 or 30 or 40% cheaper.
Right.
We had a woman in Austin who tore her ACL, and she came back. She's like, "I'm so sorry. It's going to be $24,000." And we knew that there was another doctor in Austin who actually does a lot of the UT athletic program, surgeries. So he's really really good, and would do it for $12,000 if she could pay at the point of care. So we went and we crowdfunded that $12,000. She had it with her. She paid it at the point of care, and this guy did an amazing job and did it for half the cost of what she could find it for. And so we can find you really amazing doctors that will charge you fair prices as opposed to egregious, prices oftentimes associated with these big hospital systems.
Well, I'm assuming as well that over the years you've also built relationships with really reliable doctors who have really good outcomes, because it's obviously in Crowd Health's best interest as well to be working with doctors, or building relationships between patients and doctors, let's say like you did with that woman, who are actually going to have the best possible outcome for them. That's part of your reputation as well, right? So you're going to be going to the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, one of the big questions that people have is like, okay, Andy, that's cute that you have a 30,000 person community, but what happens if it's a million people? Does it scale? Is the question.
Uh-huh.
And so, if people understand that, it actually scales beautifully, because the more members we get, the more bills we get. The more bills we get, the more cash pay prices we get. And then we can get those cash pay prices back to our community so that they know who the best cardiologist is at the fair price, the best orthopedic surgeon is at the fair price, because somebody else within the community has gone to this orthopedic surgeon or this cardiologist, has reviewed that person. We also have some quality data that we can give to that person. So we can tell you if your OB has done 5 times the number of C-sections as this other OB. And so that OB tends to go for C-section. So if you don't want a C-section, you probably shouldn't go to that OB. And so we can start sharing that data with you that you can't find anywhere else out on the internet. And
Right.
so we're doing some cool things like that. So again, transparency is good in a system in which you can actually use it to make decisions on what doctor or facility you want to go to. It doesn't work in a situation in which you don't really care what the price is. And so with Crowd Health, people care what the price is.
Yeah, yeah. That's really, really incredible, Andy. I just want to really briefly go over the monthly membership
Mhm.
costs for people, and how does that also work?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different from health insurance in that we actually will bill you twice per month. The first time is $60 per person per month. So if you have a family of four, that's $240. That comes directly to Crowd Health, and that pays for that negotiations team. You have a personal care advocate. It gives you access to all the data that we have to pay for. And so that's what the $60 is for. And then on top of that, we will ask you to help somebody else out in the community. So if you're, again, family of four, I'll use that example, up to 420, to help somebody else out in the community. And so you'll get an email once a month. It'll say, this guy in Austin, Texas broke his arm. Are you willing to help him out? You can say yes or no. And if you say yes, and you can automate this if you want, you can say yes to everything. So you don't have to go in and do anything. Your money goes directly from your account to this guy in Austin's account so that he can pay his broken arm. The cool thing about that second payment, though, is we only ask for what the community needs. So the maximum is 420. However, we only ask for what the community needs, and therefore this month it's only 225. So you're saving 195 this month because the community didn't need that money.
Right.
And in the insurance system, the insurance plan gets that as profit. In our system, you get to keep that money and you can do with it whatever you want. And so, that's another cool component is like the community actually rallies around each other. They're like, man, yeah, let's get great prices because we want to, these bills to be as low as possible. So the ask per month is as low as possible because they're the ones that are benefiting from that, not Crowd Health. So
Yes.
a very different model.
Yeah, it's forcing change in the industry. It's forcing doctors and specialists to be fair in their pricing. That's what it's doing.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah,
So that
exactly.
will only be maximum 420, and that will only ever happen once a month. And the last time that I spoke to you, you were telling me that actually reaching 420 happens quite rarely, although that is the set max, right?
Yeah, it's only happened 3 or 4 times in 5 years,
Right.
and it has not happened at all in the last 2 years. And so, yeah, it rarely happens. This month we're asking 225. Last month we asked 225 of the 420, and so that 660 rarely occurs, but it does give us the ability if we get a bunch of really big bills coming in all at once, we can go back to the community and be like, "Hey, this month we're gonna have to go all the way up to the 420 because we've got people in our community who are having some big stuff going on." And then once those things get paid off, then it can come back down again to, the back to the, I don't know, 225 or wherever it ends up being. And it just allows the community to kind of flex up and flex down depending upon what's going on in the community. And that keeps us from having to have this big, pot of capital on the back end to pay for these big bills. And, as you know, inflation eats away at that big pot of capital, and so I prefer it to be in your pocket, so you can do with it whatever you want with it. You're going to get a much better return on that money than we would. So it's just a way better way of basically financing healthcare bills from our
Inf-
perspective. But
Infinitely
much more
better
effective.
in my perspective as well, just and purely from the results. It is more cost effective and better outcomes. It's a no-brainer. It's absolutely a no-brainer. It's more cost effective than what people are paying for health insurance, and they're getting better outcomes than people are getting through health insurance. I mean, it's
I
it's
truly
it's
believe that.
incredible. It's
I truly
incredible.
believe that.
The other thing I want to mention to people is that if you do sign up, if you go to joincrowdhealth.com/promos/pulse, and again, the link is in the description below, you actually, if you use code PULSE at checkout, you get a discounted membership of $99 per member per month for the first 3 months. So you'll
Mhm.
pay a low monthly advocate fee of $60 per member, and your crowdfunding contribution will be capped at $39 per member per month during this time. So even if it reaches 420, your in the first 3 months, your contribution will be capped at $39 per member if you use our code PULSE for the first 3 months. So that's another
That's right.
incentive for people to join up and consider this. And I really, really am urging people to, because I can think of nothing worse than you have a child that has a problem. You've been paying through your nose for healthcare, and your insurance company says, no, sorry, we don't cover that particular issue for your child. Whereas crowd health, you're seeing, excuse me, you're seeing as of last month, 100% of bills funded. It's really a no-brainer, Andy. I'd love for you to just, sort of give your final thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, open enrollment is not too far away. It's in the fall. And so, what I would say to people is for 99 bucks a month, try us out for the next 3 months. That'll bring you right up until open enrollment. So you're fully informed about what you're doing for 2027. And if you love it, then stick around. We'd love to have you as full members. And if you don't love it for whatever reason, that's fine too. You can go back into your ACA plan or your employer's plan or whatever. But I think it's worth 99 bucks a month for a few months to see to if you have a family of four, you're going to be saving $10,000 a year. So that seems like a pretty good investment to me to just try it out to see if it works for you. So yeah, give it a shot. We'd love to have you join crowdhealth.com. I think that, I hope you hear it from kind of the words that I've said, but I mean, like our mission is like to legitimately love our customers well. Like that's what we want to do. And so, go and read the reviews, and you can talk to people on X. Like if you go on X and say, has anybody, dealt with crowd health? We'll comment on it and we'll get people to tell you about their experiences. But I can tell you, like, the experience is so much better than health insurance. You no longer have to fight the system alone, fight against your health insurance company. Like we're an ally for you in that battle against the system, and we're fighting for you as opposed to fighting against you. And so I think that's a huge differentiator, and we'd love for you to join the revolution. I mean, I think we need people to stop complaining about health insurance and start taking some action. And so like join us in the arena in this battle to really build an alternative for people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like you said, people have nothing to lose by giving it a try now. See if you love it. It's 99 bucks per month per member for the first 3 months. try it and see how you feel about it. Go and do your research about it. Have a look at the reviews. They're all out there for everyone to see. You're talking 4.9 stars on Trustpilot. 4.9 stars, guys. So go and check it out, and definitely visit the link in the description below. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to see crowd health be number one all across the country, in everyone's minds. I want to see this model that you are pioneering absolutely take over, because the system is not working, and people deserve proper health care, and you're helping them get it. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be on your show and appreciate it. And yeah, we'd love all your listeners to come and join us. Let's revolt, be done with this crazy system and do something else. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Andy. Bye-bye. There is a serious problem with health insurance in America. Over 200,000 Americans per year are driven into bankruptcy due to health events despite having health insurance. On average, 20% of people have their claims denied altogether, leaving them and their families helpless, not to mention the additional out-of-pocket expenses, despite dumping thousands of dollars per year into unreliable insurance and deductible payments. Well, did you know there's an alternative? In the midst of all of this, a revolutionary model has emerged that is resulting in just shy of 100% of medical bills being funded, and at literally a fraction of the cost. It's called Crowd Health, with over 28,000 members helped with medical bills, a 99.9% funding success, and over $56 million in medical bills saved. This alternative method of healthcare is sweeping the nation, and people need to know this option exists for them and their loved ones. Crowd Health is not insurance. You can opt out of the broken system and take your power back. Get started today for $99 per member per month for the first 3 months, which includes your member fee and Crowd Health contributions, by using the code PULSE at joincrowdhealth.com/pulse. That's joincrowdhealth.com/pulse. Remember to use code PULSE. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. If you're not already following us on Rumble, do so immediately. Zeee Media is the channel where you'll find us broadcasting Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the Daily Pulse at 7 p.m. Eastern. You'll also find additional content from Zeee Media on that channel, so go ahead and follow us over there. Make sure to give us your thoughts in the comments and like the broadcast. It really does help us out. And if you'd like to support us to stay independent, the best way to do that is to support our sponsors. They keep us truly independent and able to keep telling you the truth in this crazy world. Now, you may have missed our announcement on socials. We are going to be away for a couple of days this week, so we're going to be back on Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern with some bombshell information. So make sure to tune in for that on Monday. In the meantime, stay up to date with us on socials, Vigilant Fox on X and Substack, and Zeee Media across socials as well, because we will be active on our social media channels. Thank you all again, and we'll see you Monday. Good night.